Hey guys, welcome to the fish room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and as I was having my morning coffee today before I came down to ship fish and unpack fish, I learned that Jenna Marbles got fish, and I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan. I've been watching Jenna forever. We share a birthday, and she takes really, really good care of her animals, which I appreciate as a former vet tech. But I was super excited to see she was getting fish because our hobby, while it's one of the largest in the pet trade in the United States, is also one that a lot of people don't have success with. And that's for a couple reasons. One is it's really difficult to maintain a fish tank properly when the information out there that's provided from stores is often just really truly lacking. You know, you hear at fish stores all the time, you know, cycle your tank for 24 hours. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to do. You know, as we know, the reality is it takes quite a while for a nitrogen cycle to really establish unless you add in bacterial cultures. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit today as I unpack these apistogrammas about some of my best advice for new fish keepers and sort of what to expect when you first get an aquarium. You know, I think it's really easy to forget that we all start somewhere and that this hobby is an extremely steep learning curve. First, my best advice to any new fish keeper is while a lot of the aquariums that are funky shapes and funky designs really seem appealing because they look cool, they're harder to maintain. For instance, if you watch Jenna's video, and I'll put a link in the comments, she went with one of the Bior brown tanks. And it does look cool. You could see just from her setting up some of the obstacles that come along with getting one of them. They're kind of difficult to reach inside, and I'm sure, unfortunately, she'll find out in time that they're not the easiest to maintain because of their shape as well. I always recommend that you get the biggest aquarium that you can fit. Not only is that more dilution overall, you know, the more water volume you have, the less fluctuation there is as you're establishing this cycle. But it also gives you a much bigger versatility of stocking. So, you know, even if you're interested in smaller fish, it doesn't mean you can't do a bunch of smaller fish gradually over a period of time in a slightly larger aquarium. I think my favorite fish tank size for new fish keepers is really a 20 long. It's a palace for most of the fish that I work with. It's relatively affordable. In fact, if you get it during the $1 per gallon sale, you know, they're 20 bucks. They're a nice width, so it's easy to find lighting and filtration. And you can stock a whole bunch of different kinds of fish in them. Whether if you want a lot of one type of fish, or to be able to have a few different types of fish within your aquarium. I think there's a lot of misinformation on the internet saying that, you know, you shouldn't water change during cycles, when the reality is you really can't do too many water changes, and especially in those smaller volume tanks. The best thing that you can do is a lot of water changes, especially in those first couple weeks. And you'll want to keep a really close eye out for distress in your fish. This can be simple. This can be them gasping up at the surface. This could be them scratching against decor in the aquarium. It can be their slime coat or the outer covering of their body starting to look a little thready or hairy. All of these things can be a reaction to ammonia. And ammonia and nitrite, the first two types of bacteria to colonize a new aquarium, are extremely toxic. And especially if you have harder water like they do in Los Angeles, which I can only assume that's how it is for Jenna. So water changes are your best course of action. And I also, you guys have seen my secret weapon video. I also really, really recommend picking up some poly filter for a newly set up aquarium, especially if you can't get seeded filter media from someone else. What's really great about it is you can just cut like a postage square stamp and float it in your aquarium. Because it adsorbs and absorbs, it doesn't need to be within your filter compartment. And what this will do is it will turn colors to show you what it's filtering out. So if you're starting to get a creep up of ammonia in your aquarium, it'll start to turn bright yellow, and that means you can do a water change before your fish are gasping at the surface. Now, it can take several weeks for an aquarium to really sort of settle down, and really several months until I really consider it to be mature. And some of your most important tools that you'll want to buy is you'll want to have water conditioner, you'll want to have a gravel vacuum and siphon, and a bucket that's dedicated just to your aquarium. When you get into bigger tanks or more tanks, a lot of people will use Python auto water changer, but for a small aquarium, that's generally not needed. So you'll want to make sure that you condition your water every time you change water. And you want to make sure that you're removing any of the uneaten fish food in the aquarium, because that'll break down as well and create more ammonia. Let's move over there and we'll put some Hobbyists away. So these fish I'd already brought up to temperature in my fish room, and they're in their shipping water right now, which I took a drop of prime and detoxified. And because they were shipped to me from upstate New York and the water parameters are not that dissimilar to mine, I'm just going to net them out of their travel water and add them to the aquarium gently. And you'll see right away they go into it. Now, you know, a lot of folks really like a long acclimation period. I don't acclimate like that unless my fish are going into water that is significantly softer than what was in their travel water. And really, there's absolutely no harm in doing pretty much any kind of acclimation when you're buying locally. When you get fish shipped, however, there's a lot more ammonia built up in the shipping water, and it's best to get them out of that water and into clean water pretty quickly to prevent residual ammonia burn. I think, so back to new people, I think one of the most important things we can do as fellow fish keepers is offer advice in a constructive and helpful way. Try not to talk down to new people. We all start somewhere. We're all got to learn, and we need everyone who's interested in this hobby to have success in order for it to have longevity and, you know, just for good mojo all around. This is a really fun, rewarding hobby. We all start somewhere. We all grow and develop within it, and, you know, try and be helpful instead of showing how smart you are. So, back to my tips for beginners. Really make sure, even in a small aquarium, that you are cleaning it properly. You don't need to remove your fish to clean the aquarium. You just need a good gravel vacuum, and to remove 20 to 50% of the water each week. Making sure you suck out the gravel so that you're getting any uneaten food as well as fish wastes that are contained in there. And then replacing it with water that's similar in temperature that has been treated with a dechlorinator. And I think one of the biggest mistakes new people who are new that love their new fish make is overfeeding. Fish eat very, very little, especially small fish. They more pick and graze all the time instead of binge eat large amounts. So if you work from home, or if you live at home, or if you have the ability to feed a few very, very small meals a day instead of 1 or 2 larger ones, it's way better for the fish. I mean, most of the package directions say whatever they can eat in however many minutes, but that's usually leaves a cloud of food in the aquarium gravel that is just going to rot and cause problems for your water chemistry. So I tend to feed little tiny sprinklings a few times throughout the day with my smaller fish or my younger fish. Another big tip for people that are new in the hobby is try and avoid placing your aquarium in indirect light or direct sunlight, because you're going to have algae problems. It's inevitable. I mean, I think we all think that it's nice for the fish to have some natural light, but you're making a lot more work for yourself. So with a typical rectangular tank, if it's going to be near a window, you can use a background to block out some of that light. You can close your blinds, or you can pick a better environment for it. Unless you have a lot of fast-growing plants, sunlight is going to cause some issues in your aquarium for the most part. This is a generalization, not a rule. Now, a lot of times it'll take several hours or even a day or so for new fish to really settle in and eat. But we're going to see how these guys do. Now you may have noticed I did add them to an aquarium that already has fish in it. And that's because these came from a friend of mine named Chuck that I know pretty well. He's a very talented fish keeper, and the fish that are already in this aquarium I've quarantined for a long time. Let's take a closer look at these little Hobbyists. You can see they're already starting to eat, which is great. These are Apistogramma cockatoides triple red. That bright yellow one there is not. She's just an extra, but she's easy to tell from the cockatoides, so I just left her in there. All the other Hobbyists in here are cockatoide. And you can see just moments after dropping them in the aquarium, everybody's already eating and acting. Now, as they settle in more, they won't hang out quite so far down to the bottom. See that beautiful male? But all in all, you can see that they were not at all stressed from me just getting them out of that dirty water and into their aquarium. No, I'm not delusional. I don't really think Jenna Marbles is going to watch this video. But reading through some of her comments and just anticipating some of the response she's going to get really inspired me to make this video. Just to remind people that we all start somewhere and we're supposed to be a community of support. So try and remember what it was like when you were starting out. Try and explain things so they make sense. Have patience with people who are new, because we're supposed to be fostering each other within this hobby. And for people who are new to the hobby, get the biggest aquarium you can. I'm not talking about like a massive tank here, but if you can get something even 10 gallons over a teeny tiny kit for your first tank, it's going to be so much easier for you in the long run. Make sure you keep your tank really clean. Vacuum it so that you're cleaning out the dirt and stuff that may be trapped underneath your rocks or your gravel. Don't rush things. You know, we're really fortunate that we have this vast internet at our fingertips and can really take our time to pick fish and learn. You know, I think that's what's so appealing to me about this hobby, and why I've gotten just more and more into it the older I get, is that I learn something new every day, and I think it's really fascinating. And you know, people keep fish for all different kinds of reasons. Some people want a beautiful piece of decor in their home. Some people want the challenge of breeding fish. Some people want it for like the emotional connection or the soothing response you can get from watching a nice aquarium. Some people like the challenge of it. Some people are really interested in creating ecosystems or interested in conservation. I mean, there's so many reasons that people keep fish. It's important that we remember we all have the same goal, and that's to do a good job. Anyway, I have to go work in the greenhouse. I'm doing a live stream tonight with Bob Steenfott on his channel. I shared that on all my various social medias. And day in the life of a fish pimp is never a dull one, so I'm going to get back to work. As always, thank you for your continued support. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And let me know below if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions.